I'm just waiting for them to come over.
I don't see them on the attendees list, Jamie.
I don't either, and I did try to log in and out. So let me do this. I'm gonna run back down. Give me just a moment, but you've got this from here, Chris?
Got it.
Thanks, okay.
Oh, Jamie, they're there. There, I see Karen's name in the attendees panel.
I'm trying to promote. All right. I am making you, Christiana, a co-host.
Okay.
Just because. And then I'm having trouble bringing them over. So
Okay.
I'm trying now. If you want to try as well.
Yeah, I can try.
Oh, there they are. They're coming over.
Oh, good.
Okay. And they're, okay, I'll be back in just a second. I'm going to make sure they're all set. Chrissy, can you hear me? Chrissy?
Yes, now we can.
Great. Okay, so we are live. Okay, we're still a minute before 6. So
Yes,
give
I'm just
folks
letting-
another little bit of time.
I have stuff for you. I didn't have something. Okay.
Hi, Marcia.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Wonderful.
I do not. I do not remember. When I first moved here, this was the holding in 92, 91. They were so good. This is the holding. Then they moved. The holding cell. And thank you. This one's, and so it's sort of south. And there's so many. I'm gonna offer whoever wants sacrifice salad. Have dinner or just something hungry for that. Going once? My friend Maddie?
No, okay, thank you.
Okay, let's see who we've got on the Zoom meeting so far. I see that we have Marcia, hello. I see we have Melita as well, right?
Hi.
Hi, Melita. Christy, are there other LPC members on the call?
Not that I see yet. The attendees list, some attendees from the public are now coming into the meeting. So just an FYI to everyone, but that seems to be, oh, Lindsay just joined as well. Hi, Lindsay.
Okay, great. We'll give folks another moment. Aaron will rejoin us and we'll get started.
No, I have another article that's paying more. This one is more. Have you been to the new Moynihan trains? Incredible. Dana, I want to hear more about it. I'm really interested in going. Where was the pen? And they fly you with alcohol, but when you did it, you sit down. Well, don't you remember when Metro North was like that? Yeah, the food car and the bar. The funny thing is the car had all these, by the time they got to their cars parked to all these ashtrays.
Hi, Marlene. See that you joined.
Hi, how are you? I'm going to be muted because I'm in the in the community center. So
Okay, cool. Yeah, we're just giving folks another couple of minutes to join, and then we'll get started.
Marlene, how's the voting going?
steady and slow all at the same time.
All right.
I think we've probably done a little over 200 people, but it's real slow. It's, they come in spurts.
Well, at least they're getting to the vote. That's what I heard.
That would be true, but don't forget, this is all of Westchester, so they're not all Ossining residents.
I know.
All right, I think we
All right.
should probably get started, just to be mindful of time. I know that we have a couple more LPC members who we are expecting to join. But the first few slides are a recap. So I'd say we get started, and then we can have others join along the way. Okay. So welcome to the final LPC meeting of the Village of Ossining Downtown Revitalization Initiative. This is really an exciting moment, the culmination of over 6 months of work. And we're really looking forward to talking with you tonight about the final slate of DRI projects. Jane, you can move to the next slide. Okay, this is our agenda for tonight. We'll review the conflict of interest, disclosure and recusals. We will discuss together selecting the final slate of proposed DRI projects. That will include reviewing the LPC assessment results that we discussed last week, diving into the community feedback that we've received over the last week, and then completing the DRI ballots for our official vote. We'll talk a bit about next steps in the process and then have an opportunity for public comment. Before we move to the conflicts of interest, disclosure and recusals, I'd like to turn it over to our two co-chairs to say hello and welcome folks to this meeting.
Mayor, all yours, you're there.
Yeah, I am here. I'm in person. I'll just make it short and sweet. Welcome. It's been a journey. I'm not going to say it's a long journey. I think this is a very efficient, very involved, community involved, and all sorts of people involved in this journey. I appreciate all the work. Tonight, we're hoping to, I hope, unanimously agree on the projects that we want to move forward. And I'll turn it over to my co-chair.
And I would just like to thank everyone for their thoughtfulness and really fabulous participation. This is the third DRI project that I've co-chaired in Westchester, and I have to say, I've been so impressed with the professionals at the village, Mayor and Karen, and everyone in the community. So very impressive, and special thanks, in case we don't say it later, we will again, but thank you to VHB and the great team and the work you did shepherding this, and I'm excited.
Great. That sounds great. Okay, I should mention before we proceed that for the public comment period, there will be a few ways that folks can ask a question or share a comment. You can use the raise hand feature on Zoom or press *9 if you're calling in by phone. If you raise a hand during the presentation, we'll see it and address it during the public comment session. We've disabled the chat function during the meeting to reduce distraction and pop-ups. And another reminder that this meeting is being recorded. Okay. Susan, I'll turn it over to you for conflicts of interest.
Thank you. On behalf of the co-chair, each local planning committee member is reminded of their obligation to disclose potential conflicts of interest with respect to any of the projects If you have a potential conflict of interest regarding a project you believe will be discussed during the meeting, please disclose it now and recuse yourself from any discussion or vote about that project. For example, you may state that you or a family member have a financial interest in the project, or that you are on the board of an organization proposing the project. Do any members need to make a disclosure?
Brent, I see your hand. Go ahead.
Yes, yes, good morning. Good afternoon, everyone. I said good morning because I'm in Ho Chi Minh City right now in Vietnam calling in. So I'm still adjusting to the time, but I have a conflict with regard to the Sing Sing Prison Museum and a potential conflict with the Olive Opera House. So I won't be voting on either projects.
Thank you, Brent. Please inform the co-chairs during the meeting if the need to disclose a conflict arises unexpectedly, and then, of course, recuse yourself from any discussion or voting on that project.
Okay, I see a hand from Bill Balter. Hi, Bill.
Hi, I have a sort of a conflict, I guess. One of the village projects proposed is the improvement along the Sing Sing Kill. We are the developer of that property, and while we're not involved in that particular improvement, it is on the property we're developing. So I will not be voting on that.
Okay, thank you, Bill. Okay, not seeing any other hands, I think we will move on. Okay, so the meat of today's meeting will be selecting the final slate of proposed DRI projects to send to the state for funding consideration. In this section, I'll review the LPC assessment results, which we discussed on Thursday for the benefit of those who may not have been able to join us. Then walk through the results of the community feedback we've gathered over the last week, and then look ahead to the state's evaluation criteria. Before we ask folks here to weigh in, I think we'll do another round robin to hear from folks after we've walked through the assessment and the community feedback. And then we'll move toward the selection of the final slate. Okay, Jamie, if you can change the slide, thank you. So as we said last week, well, our goal for today's meeting is to select the final slate of projects. We know that each DRI community is awarded $9.7 million in DRI funding for improvement projects. And per guidance from the Department of State, each LPC should identify a slate of projects that totals between $13 and $14 million in funding requests. There are many excellent projects, and it's been a tough choice, I think. But it's important to know that projects that are not proposed for DRI funding can be included in a list of complementary projects that will be included in the DRI plan and highlighted for other potential sources of state funding. So we can go to the next slide. Okay, so folks who were able to take part in the meeting last week will remember this bar graph, which was the result of the LPC assessment, which every member completed. You will see that there are 15 projects on this list. One project, the grant program for commercial building facade improvements, was removed from consideration after further conversation with the project sponsor, the state, and a potential community financing partner. And so, Jamie, if you click once ahead, you'll see that we've put a line through that project. There we go. And then based on our conversation last week, we identified those projects where at least half of the LPC had expressed that they disagreed with including the project in the DRI plan. Again, recognizing that each of these projects are terrific, but that we have limited funding available and that we're focusing on those projects which could have a catalytic effect for economic development in downtown Ossining. So if Jamie, you click ahead once more, you'll see we'll sort of gray out those projects. So those projects that we discussed removing from the slate included the permanent art installations along the waterfront, the marketing and branding strategy, the public Wi-Fi network, and the Village Pier extension. So if we click ahead once more. Right, so this is the proposed slate of DRI projects that were discussed last week. And if you're here at Village Hall, we have a handout with that list of projects. You'll see that they total about $13.1 million, which is within the range recommended by the Department of State and on the lower end of that range, right? We're looking for between $13 and $14 million in projects to send to the state for which they will then review and narrow down. So bearing this in mind, while the LPC was reviewing the assessment results and evaluating the projects, we were also doing our third and final round of community feedback. Jamie, if you go ahead one more slide. Oh, this is a nice little summary of the projects that we looked at last week. You go ahead one more. Yep. So on Tuesday of last week, approximately 40 people attended a community meeting that we held at the community center. We began that meeting with a presentation where we described the DRI program and all 15 of the proposed DRI projects. Following the presentation, each participant had 5 tickets, and they used those tickets to select the 5 projects that they felt were most important for downtown revitalization in the village of Ossining. It was a great meeting. I think people were like really thoughtful about how to use their tickets. They were able to go around the room and ask questions of the project sponsors who were present, and talk with their neighbors about the ones that they felt were most important to. And so I think it was a really nice gathering of folks. I know a couple of folks who are here were able to join as well. After that meeting, we made an online survey available, which posed the same questions. Which 5 projects are most important for downtown revitalization? That survey was promoted on the village's website, via email and social media. We know that a couple of local organizations and businesses had promoted it as well. We were also out there in person last weekend at the farmers market, at Portugal Day, and at the Juneteenth celebration. So the online survey received a total of 635 responses, which is great. That's a very high response rate among DRI projects. And so if we go to the next slide, we can take a look at those responses and talk through them in some more detail. Okay, so the print here is pretty tiny. So for folks in the room, you've got a printout as well. And I'm happy to talk through how the community survey results compare to the LBC assessment results. And really the top line takeaway, I think, is that they're very well aligned. For the most part, you'll see that the projects that were receiving a high level of support for inclusion in the DRI plan also received a high number of responses from members of the public, and vice versa. So we should call out a couple of areas where there were differences. So in particular, the peer extension was in the bottom 5 projects following the LPC assessment. With the community survey results, we see that it's nearer to the top. It's in the top 5. Also notable are the ferry service project and the Sing Sing Prison Museum project, the Preview Center in particular, which were sort of in the middle 5 based on the LPC assessment, and moved down toward the bottom 5 based on the community results. That may not be entirely surprising. I think both of those may be geared more toward attracting visitors to the village of Ossining as opposed to serving residents, but we wanted to flag that as well. And then the facade improvement actually sort of moved up, so to speak, but that's one again that we've pulled for administrative issues. And the Olive Opera House and the Transportation Center moved down just a bit, while the waterfront performance space moved up a bit, but those are all still in the top half of the projects. So that's my quick run through of how the results that we see from the community survey compare to the LPC assessment. So now you see the state evaluation criteria that will be used by the multi-agency team to ultimately decide which projects receive funding. And I think it's important to say that community engagement is very important throughout the DRI process to make sure that the LPC and the project team are sort of in sync with the community and reflecting the community's priorities. Public support is one criteria that you'll see here under state and local goals. And there are other criteria that we also want to consider around project readiness. Hearing some, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure. Okay.
That's a new sound.
Yeah. I don't know if folks online were hearing that, but we were hearing a ringing noise here in Village Hall. But yeah, just to say that, you know, community engagement is very important throughout the process. Public support is an important consideration. There are some other considerations that we, you know, have discussed here with the LPC and also brought to light at community meetings around project readiness, catalytic effect, cost effectiveness. And we also would want to be considering those benefits, those criteria as we discuss the final slate of projects. I should add too that something that we don't see here exactly is that the state is attentive to the synergies between projects, as well as the synergies between DRI communities. And Ossining is sort of in a unique position where the village of Haverstraw right across the river has also been awarded DRI funding. Okay, so with that, we have brought back up the proposed slate of DRI projects that we had discussed last week. And I think our goal for this meeting, as the mayor prefaced earlier, is to come to consensus, you know, ideally unanimous consensus if we can, around the slate of projects that will be included in the DRI plan and sent to the state for ultimate funding decisions. And so with that, I think I can pause and maybe we can go around again and ask folks if they have any questions or concerns about this slate of projects or any ideas for how they may want it to change before we then try and move toward a vote. We in fact have printed ballots that the state has provided to make it extra official. Okay, so I can pause there and we can decide how to go around. I know we have folks online as well, but perhaps we'll start with those who are here in person. Marilyn, would you like to go first or would you like to?
No, I'm gonna,
Okay.
let's put the mic on, and for those of us in the room, what we've learned is you have to be really close to the microphone for people to hear you. Why don't we go this way, and I'm gonna go last.
Sure. Yeah, I don't really have much to add. I'm very happy with the slate that's put up here. I think it's really balanced in a lot of ways. I think just looking down by the water as opposed to uptown, I think, you know, it's also balanced in terms of projects which are more infrastructural, providing parking, providing, you know, streetscaping downtown, and providing programs, right? So both at the community center in terms of the Olive Opera House, the waterfront performance space. So I think that it's a really good mix. I'm really happy with it, and it's unfortunate. I mean, some of the projects I know that aren't on this slate, is especially I think looking at the public being very supportive of the pier was something that stuck out. But I think while that's unfortunate, I think that the projects that we have here are very well balanced.
Can I just make a request for those of us not there? Can you just say your name? Because we're seeing you very small here before you speak.
Yes, sorry about that. That was Seth Wright.
I just want to add, just chime in, clarifying, not comment on what you were saying, but all the projects, all 15 projects are now on the radar screen. It's really important. There's different funding sources. So some of the conversations have been, this project is great, and we think it will absolutely get funded elsewhere. As an example, the pier that you mentioned, there are no guarantees. And some years there's more money than others. But in Peekskill, when I spoke to the planner there, so much of the funding actually came from a different source, not the DRI. But every one of the 15 actually will now be on a radar screen. Maybe not the top 10, but maybe the top 12, or top 13 or 14 will also be looked at. That's, I don't want to say it's a guarantee, but it's as close as getting government to guarantee that it will now be a part of everybody's strategic plan. And we've already benefited in real time from Sandy Gale of C with DRI to helping with $500,000 or something. So it's like real, and I'm very clear about that. So I'm glad you brought that up. Thank you. I just wanted to also reiterate how important that aspect is of this entire process.
It's Joyce Cole. I am very happy with this league. And I love that's kind of in pockets that they work in tandem with each other to be successful and to promote more economic development and stimulating the environment here, making the people that already live here. This is exciting. I'm actually excited for it to happen if it does this way. And they work with each other beautifully. And it's even more important that the community is they vote it the same way we feel. So it makes it more comfortable speaking on behalf of the community that we pick something that they also feel passionately about.
Hi, Dana White here, reporting for duty. So I love this slate as well. And, it's funny because about half of these projects address issues that we've had for decades that we've struggled to fix, whether it be empty buildings, parking, bringing back existing buildings back into the community. The Sing Sing Prison Museum, previously, that has been, to actually get this to a bricks and mortar point with a preview center in downtown Austin, which will bring people in much smaller numbers than the huge, massive museum would, to get an idea of what we're trying to do, which is pretty, not we, but the museum is trying to do, is pretty exciting. And the Sing Sing Hill Greenway is pretty much the coolest thing in Westchester. And sorry, I'm biased, but to then add to it and make it even better, making it even more of a feature here is exciting. So, and these things do work together downtown and on the waterfront. So, and then the projects that we like that aren't on here, we will continue to pursue other means of funding, other means of making them happen.
Thanks, Trustee White. Adam, can I kick it over to you?
Sure.
Okay.
You just have to press down.
Hello? All right, good. Catherine, one question. What does the ballot look like and what are we voting on?
Yeah, good question. I can share it if you would like. Well, maybe I'll hold on to it for just a moment in case there are any changes, but the ballot asks that you as LPC members either express that you are in favor of submitting the DRI plan with the slate of projects listed, or if you're opposed. And then there's a way to recuse yourself from voting for a particular project. So the idea is to weigh in on the slate as a whole, as opposed to weighing in on individual projects.
Okay, so it's a thumbs up or thumbs down to this proposed slate. I think I'd give it a thumbs up. My only reservation is that it's not in total alignment with public survey. Projects here that, for example, ferry service, streetscape in the Station Plaza, enhancing the Simpson Hill Greenway, where I think came behind extending the village pier. But other than that, I think, as others have said, it's a very good mix of projects focused in the heart of the Main Street Historic District and the waterfront, which are the two sort of critical centers of this village. So overall, thumbs up for me.
Thanks, Adam. I will say there is, I don't want to sort of cut off any conversation about potential changes. I do think changes are possible, but bearing in mind that we sort of need to hit this $13 to $14 million sweet spot, and we're at 13.1 at the moment.
And
Okay.
Catherine, I just want to add that for those that are online, LPC members, we will be sharing the ballot with you within the next couple of minutes. So don't worry, you will also be getting the ballot, as well as those that are not attending the meeting tonight. All LPC members will be receiving the ballot, and we're going to hold off on sending it in case, as Catherine mentioned, there are any changes to the list that we do want to vote on. So you will be receiving it as well.
Okay. Brent, I see a hand. Is that left over? Would you like to go ahead and chime in?
No, I was just waiting my turn, I guess. Is everybody in the meeting? Have they all spoken?
Wait, everyone in all the LPC members in Village Hall have, so I can kick it to you first as the Zoom contingent speaks.
Okay, no, I had a question on the process with the state. And what is the experience, because we're sending in $13.1 million in projects and 9.7 million will be funded. Does the state, so that's about almost 25 or maybe a little more than 25% of either the projects or the funding will be reduced. So does the state typically fund all the projects or portions of the projects or just the top projects? How does that work? Because the village is not going to receive all $13 million.
That's right. Yeah, Susan, would you like to chime in?
Sure, and any of my state partners that may also have information, please chime in as well. So from my understanding, it's, a lot of projects that are selected by the state and are kind of like in that priority are going to be fully funded at that amount. Some of the ones that may change are the ones that kind of come in is those last ones when we're working with more limited amount of funds at the back end. So I've never seen it as to where like we shave off amounts on each project. My understanding is that it's usually some of those last ones when we're getting to the end of that 9.7 million where we may see a reduction in that award.
Brent, does that help answer your question?
Can you say it again? Because I couldn't hear. I'm not hearing. Does this, I understand the state. Please say it again.
Sure,
Yeah, no problem. Yeah.
I'll slow it down a little bit. Is that better, Brent?
Yes.
Okay. So my understanding is the way that the state has usually done these in the past is that they will do their evaluation and then prioritize their projects and will usually provide the full funding requested. Unless obviously other funds come into play for a project, maybe the village is applying for grants, things can happen on that back end. Where a project may get cut is if it's kind of towards looking at the bottom of that 9.7 million. So maybe the 5 projects have been selected and we're now left with $1 million. We've got a project that asks for $2 million. And so there may be a reduction in the funding amount at that stage. But usually we do not see wholesale cuts across all of the projects.
Okay, thank you.
I'll add that we included the slide with the state evaluation criteria to try and shed a bit more light on how the state will ultimately make the decision from roughly $13 million to roughly $10 million. I think my sense is part of why they like to have a buffer is that, projects change over time. These funds wouldn't be awarded until toward the end of the year, and they likely wouldn't enter contracts until early next. And so projects have stalled before, projects have been awarded other funding before. And so I think they also like to sort of build in some wiggle room in the event that projects change as time continues to, evolve them. Brent, did you want to weigh in on the slate of projects? We can also
No,
go back around if you
no,
prefer.
No, I think it's a good slate with a good mix of capital improvements and program improvements.
Okay, cool. All right, I'm seeing Kim Jacobs on my screen and then Peter Chernoff. Would you both be willing to chime in? Oh, no, I'm sorry, Bill, did you have your hand raised?
Yes,
Okay, go ahead, Bill.
So first, as I said, I'm going to recuse myself on the actual vote. In general, I think the slate's great. My experience when I was involved in the DRI and Peekskill is that once we submit the slate, the state really spends, and their team spends a lot of time determining viability of the projects, which can be a number of different things. There are other sources that are required. Sometimes sources fall through, making projects not viable. They look at sort of, is a project ready to go enough? So the reason this 13 million is really because they want to make sure at the end of the day, there are $10 million of projects that are viable.
Yep, well said. Bill, would you want to weigh in on the slate of projects?
Yeah, I just said, I think this slate is great. When we do the actual vote, I will recuse myself on the Greenway improvements, but I think this is the right list, and I think it's the right amount.
Okay, sounds good.
Kim Jacobs has her hand up.
Yes, Kim, please go ahead.
Sorry, and I apologize, at least on my end, the sound from the people who are present in person is very garbled and very difficult to understand. My comments about the projects is, one of the things I like is when I look down the list, there are so very many projects here, the vast majority of them that will benefit the entire community. Facilities like the Greenway improvement, the community center, Market Square, just one after another. As you go down that list, these are things that every single person in this community can take advantage of, and often can take advantage of most of them at no expense. They're truly community benefit projects, and so I'm very happy to see that. Catherine, I did not understand one word of what you said about the voting process. So if you don't mind moving a little closer to the mic and speaking more slowly, can you review that again?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me all right now? Maybe. I think I'm as close to the mic as I can without touching it. So the ballot that has been provided to us by the Department of State asks LPC members to either indicate that they are in favor of the slate of projects or opposed to the slate of projects. And then you can recuse yourself from voting on individual projects as needed. So the idea is that the entire slate would be put forward, and we would not be voting on individual projects, but rather the list sort of as a whole. Was that helpful, Kim?
Sorry, I still have a question. So the last time we met, we talked about projects that would potentially not be on the slate, or at least that's how I understood it. Are you now saying we're going to submit all 15 projects?
No, the proposed slate would be the one shown on the screen, which is the 10 projects that total 13.1 million. And then the other projects, the other 5 projects, or 4 really, would be put forward as complementary projects in the DRI plan.
Okay, sorry, my screen is not showing the whole list. Sorry, I don't know
No
what
problem. That's all right. Maybe Christy, could I ask for you to email it to Kim, just this slide?
Yes, and I also I just sent out some slides from the PowerPoint maybe a couple of minutes ago, which does include this slide that is shown as well as the state criteria and the community feedback. For those that are online, it might be easier to view what I just sent. So if you check your email, it should be there.
And Kim, I just took a picture of it and texted it to you.
Thanks, Marcia. Thanks.
Thank you, Marcia. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, maybe we can, Kim, would you like us to circle back? I think you would weighed in on the slate generally, but let us know after you take a look if you'd like to weigh in again. All right. Who else? We have Melita on the Zoom call, I think. Melita, are you there? She may have popped off.
She's still here. She may not have any comments.
Melita, and I
I'm
see
still here. I'm still
There
here.
she is.
Yes.
Okay, Melita, would you like to weigh in on the slate of projects? Do you have any questions or concerns?
No, I understood with Kim and Brett their questions. So the way we're going to vote will be for these 13,092, the ballot. And I did understand everything.
Okay. Okay, great. I think that we had two others who said they were going to join us online. Lindsay, is Lindsay there?
Yes, I'm here.
Hi,
Yes.
Lindsay. Would you like to weigh in?
Yes, I support the slate. I think our job was to sort of prioritize from a much longer list. I'm very happy with the 13 million.1 number. It'll be interesting to see what happens to get us down to 9.7, $10 million, but I'm very, very happy, particularly with those projects at the top of the list, particularly the multimodal transportation center, which I see as, just so crucial to anything that happens downtown. So I support the slate.
Okay, thanks, Lindsay. And I think I saw Peter Chernoff on. Is Peter there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, Peter, would you like to weigh in?
Yeah, I'm happy with the slate. I'm slightly concerned about the viability of the Olive Opera House, but I'm happy to submit it. And if the state agrees with me, then I guess they're not going to select it. If they don't agree with me, then they'll do what they do there. But generally speaking, I like the Olive Opera House. I hope it does get done. I'm not opposed to it.
Okay, got it. Peter.
Catherine, we also have Marlene and Jeff on Zoom as well.
Okay, great. Yeah, Marlene, are you available to weigh in? No, Marlene was at the community center.
We'll do a plug while we're waiting for Marlene. For those of you who haven't voted, please do so. And that's today's PSA announcement.
Cool, thank you. All right, let's kick it over to Jeff. Jeff, are you available to weigh in?
Yeah, hey, everybody. No, I feel good about this. I think we've had a pretty healthy debate throughout the process, and I think we landed on some really exciting projects. It makes a ton of sense to me to focus in on downtown, not try to do everything in Ossining all at once. And, as the mayor said, I think, all these projects are worthy of funding, and I think it's great that the village will continue to seek funds for the other projects that don't make the list. But no, I think this is really good.
Thanks, Jeff. All right, so I think with that, maybe I'll turn it over to you, Marilyn, to weigh in. My sense is that all the other LPC members, maybe with the exception of Marlene and Marcia, haven't yet weighed in.
For those of you that came on late, Marlene actually is at the community center where voting is going on. It's tough for her to speak while people ask questions and all that, but she's listening. So I'm going to just recap. I like the slate. I think it's good. I think there's a lot of conversation, ditto to a lot of what was said. These are the notes I took down, which I think is the reason I'm very happy about it. These are all things you all said, right? It's a combination of downtown and waterfront. It works in tandem. It has community alignment with the LPC. That's nice. Half of the items address long-standing, I think the word is decades. The other half is impactful programming. Again, back to a good mix, like the mix between downtown and waterfront, a mix between capital improvements and program. Somebody used, I think, very strong words about these projects. The slate really hits all of the community in the widest way. And that's something somebody really liked. There were a couple of people that said very happy with this. There were more than a couple. And the words feel good were used by a whole bunch of people. And I think for me, that sort of speaks volumes for the slate. And we will see where the state comes in as they, at their level, look at what fits with what and what funding fits with what funding and what monies are available and the practical side of it. And we'll see where that falls. So I am, as was said here, is it a thumbs up or thumbs down? It's thumbs up for these 10, and 10 seems to be actually a very nice number. 15 and 18 seemed really, a lot to me. I don't know why it felt like a lot. It just felt that way. I have no experience with what a lot or a little is in this world, but in the world of DRI, but it felt like a lot for a village to take on. 10 seems like a nice round number to me. So thumbs up on my end.
Okay, thank you. All right. And so with that, I think we'll just open the floor once more if anyone has any, outstanding questions or concerns they'd like to raise after having taken a look at this proposed slate. And if not, we'll go ahead and distribute the ballot and make it final. Not hearing any other questions or concerns. We'll go ahead and share the DRI ballot. For folks who are here in Village Hall, we've printed out hard copies. So we'll ask that you write your name on the first page and then indicate if you're in favor of the slate and if you need to recuse yourself from a particular project. If you are joining us on Zoom, Christy has shared the ballot and we'll ask that it's a PDF fillable form. We'll ask that you complete that and send it back to us. If there are members of the LPC who are unable to join us tonight, there were a couple. We're also going to share this ballot with them and ask that they weigh in. Okay.
So I just have a question. If you're working on an iPhone with PDF, you can't really do this, right?
I think that may be right. My sense is that it would be best.
Wait a minute. I can put it in and then you'll know I can't put my name in, but I can.
You should be able to put your name in.
Yeah, you'll know it's coming from whoever it's coming from because we'll just say, okay, great. So I'm sending it back to. Am I sending it to Christina?
Yes, you could send all the ballots to myself and I will collect them all and keep track.
There's 2 pages, folks. Oh, please. Anybody need a pen?
Here's your We're looking around for pens here.
There's pens in that little basket. There's a couple in there.
You'll see at the bottom of the ballot, and I can show you here, Marilyn, that at the bottom, you'll see the projects that will be listed as complementary projects in the DRI plan. So we've included those there without a DRI funding request, but they'll be going into the plan and highlighted for other sources of state funding.
So we can vote for the slate. Do we then individually vote for these projects too? Or if we vote for the slate?
You'll vote either in favor or in opposition of the slate, and then you'll use those other boxes if you've got to recuse yourself. Yeah, just for a recusal.
No, I'm not.
Folks at least you're taking a look and feel okay about it. Okay. All right. I'm gonna go around and collect these, I suppose.
Are they like confidential?
I think we'll just see if we were in. Yeah. Yeah. Yes, yes, if you're filling it out online, please make sure to fill in your name. Does anyone at home or online have questions about the ballot that we could answer? Give folks another couple minutes to open it up and give it a read. Okay. Susan, your end, is this sufficient in terms of vote? Okay. Okay. And I think with that, we can just proceed in the presentation. Jamie, would you mind clicking ahead 2 slides and we can talk about our next steps? Okay, so our next steps will be to collect DRI ballots from the folks who are joining us on Zoom and who were unable to make it tonight. We'll ask that if you're joining us on Zoom, you please complete the ballot this evening and email it back to Christy. For folks who are unable to join us, we're going to ask that they email it over to us tomorrow. And then we will write the LPC with an update on the result. But my sense is from this call and the comments that folks shared, we'll be moving ahead with this ballot of 10, with a slate of 10 DRI projects to the state, and that's very exciting. Over the next month, the consultant team together with the village and the state will be drafting the DRI plan. That will be submitted in July. The state will select the DRI projects that will receive funding in late 2022. And then those projects will go into contracts with the respective state agency early next year. Does anyone have any other questions about the next steps? Pause there.
I have just about what is the role now of this group of people as this process moves forward?
Yeah, that's a good question. We will be sharing the DRI plan with this group and with the village and other project partners. So we would encourage you to give that plan a read, to please share it with folks in your networks. And then as we move forward with the selection process from the state, we'll keep this group posted. But again, my sense is that for the DRI planning process, we've reached the conclusion of the LPC in its official role.
I wish I would have known. I would have bought cupcakes or something. I've got like a lousy salad here. I could something up.
Well, we got
there should be drum rolls or something.
Yeah, I don't know, champagne. Yeah, if we go to the next slide, yes, we do want to extend a really, really warm thank you to everyone who's been working on this project, particularly the folks here at the Village of Ossining who put together a stellar application. To our co-chairs, Mayor Levin and Dr. Marsha Gordon, thank you so much for your guidance and leadership. To everyone on the LPC for their time and thoughtful questions, and to all the folks who had taken part in community meetings and provided feedback online. Of course, our partners at the state as well have been very helpful and supportive all throughout. And I'll give a shout out to Christy, who's also done a huge amount of work. Thanks, Christy. But yeah, we just want to say thank you to everyone who's been involved. And I'm glad to pass it over to our co-chairs as well for some concluding thoughts before we take any public comment.
I'm gonna let my co-chair go first on this round.
And I just want to thank you for giving me the honor of being the co-chair of this wonderful, wonderful committee, and you are all fabulous. And Mayor, thank you so much for your leadership, and Karen as well. And VHB, thank you. Thank you very much. And I can't wait to spend a lot of time in Austin in the coming years in the village.
Thank you. It was really a pleasure to have Dr. Gordon. We've said it before, she sat on previous CRIs, continues to be part of really almost everything that's happening in Westchester. I don't think I'm exaggerating when I say that. And Hudson Valley. And so that was great. We're very fortunate to have her. For those of you who now had the pleasure of meeting her, we hope that in these conversations, everyone comes to us and drops their money. They can stay, they can leave, but most importantly, that they support the economic development and so many of the projects that we've had. Ditto on all the thank yous to everyone from all the levels of government and consultants who have made this happen. It's one of the projects I will now be able to talk about that government does not move slowly always, but in fact, there's a case where it moved rapidly, but in a very, I think, it was a concerted effort that we knew there was going to be a beginning, middle, and an end, and we did all the steps I think were really important to the community. We'll hear more. We'll do our job in letting the community also know as this moves forward, because people in the community are going to want to know what's going on and all the exciting aspects of it, because that's really what they've been waiting for. This is great. I want to thank everybody for taking all of your time out. Those of you who have businesses that you took time away, family that you took time away from, the staff who oftentimes just looks like they're sitting here, but in fact, every weekend is out there collecting information, setting up all the presentation, all the rooms, and all the other things they work on. So really kudos to all of you, staff, the manager and her staff. So I want to thank you all as well. I hope I included, and the board members who aren't here have been kept up to date. So maybe that's why it went so efficiently. There's just two of us in here. I'm going to keep that in mind. So thank you all for also the two of you for everything that you've done as well. Much appreciated. I don't know what to do with ourselves. We're an hour early. So I don't know what happens when you finish a meeting an hour early. Yeah.
Melita, I think Melita wants to chime in.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Hi, everyone. I just would like to thank everyone for inviting me to be part of this LPC group. This has been such a great experience, being able to talk with all my customers and all the residents of Austining. This is so much excitement, and I really believe this is the time for Austin downtown, and that we are going to be able to do what we always wanted to do. Finally, we are closer to an end, and this is going to be great for all of us. We're going to attract a lot of people, and we're going to give the best to our residents of Austin. So I really wanted to thank everybody, and thank Karen and Mayor Levy for inviting me to be part of this group. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much.
Great, thank you, Melita. All right, let's see if there's anyone who has public comment that they would like to share. And then we can go from there. Jamie, could you see if there are folks, participants who have raised a hand to offer public comment?
There are no one has their hands up right now.
Okay.
I don't know if you can hear me.
We can.
Yes, we can hear you. Okay.
So it doesn't look like we have anyone to speak. Okay.
Okay.
I'm going to stop sharing. Okay.
We're going to take that and say thank you, but we all know people will see this. It's recorded and we will be getting emails, so it's all good. That's the beauty of the technology we're now using. We used to get that 50 people in the room to hear from them. That's no longer the case. And we're going to be hearing, we hope that all of you on this committee, as you hear whether Melita hears in her store,
or hear it on street, or the committees that you sit on, that you continue on sharing information with us, because that just gets us to always a better place. And I want to thank everybody for being here.
It was about this time last year when I think it was closer to July maybe, when we got the application. It was, we spent all summer, and Dana White, Trustee White, was very involved in the execution of the video, the winning video, the stellar award-winning video that had so much talent and honesty to put together, thankfully. This was a culmination, this was the 5th time we applied for this grant. And there was a lot of work that went on in previous years with a lot of other people who were involved. So it really is a labor of love for the entire village. Countless people were involved, and we're getting closer and closer to doing the things that we've talked about. And this is really only the beginning. It gets better from here. So thank you to everyone. It was not a little bit of work. It was a lot of work, but it was well worth it, and a wonderful experience to boot. And really grateful for the number of people in Austin who are willing to dedicate enormous amounts of their personal time to doing things for the community. It really is inspiring and wonderful. Thank you all.
Okay, thank you, everyone. I think with that, we'll conclude our final LPC meeting. Take a look out for an email from us in the coming day or two to talk about the results and the next steps. Thank you all so much for your commitment and the time you've given to this process. We appreciate it.
Have a great night.
Okay, good
Bye-bye.
night.
Thank you.